Hello everyone, Lisa with Lisa Capen Quilts here. Today I am going to be digitizing a quilt label for the t-shirt quilt you see behind me. So the person I'm making this quilt for has a really awesome saying that she would like to go onto a label on the back side of this quilt. Today I'm going to be using Embrilliance Stitch Artist Level 2 to design and digitize my label, and I thought I'd bring you along and show you what I do to create a label that is completely stitched in the hoop. We will not be bringing this quilt label to the sewing machine at all. So I absolutely love that. I'm going to bring you along as we create this label. So let's reduce that and bring you down like this. I'm going to open up Embrilliance. You'll see here I have a new file, but let me show you exactly what I want to create. This is the label that we're going to make together. It has this really awesome saying, and then I did some random hearts along the bottom, and then you'll see this yellow box that surrounds everything. I'm going to explain this when we get to this part, so let's get started. So the very first thing you want to do is, of course, pick your hoop size. You can come up to Preferences and change the hoop according to whichever hoop and embroidery machine you are using. I have mine set on the maxi hoop, and we are ready to go. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer. So the very first thing that I want to do is to create a box that is the same exact size as my quilt label. So let's go up here to Merge Design, and we'll click on that, and it's going to open up all of these awesome shapes that we can add to our design. And there's all these different categories as well, so that is really, really helpful. I'm going to start with a square and import that into my design. So you'll see our square here. You can also see it over here in the objects box. What I want to do is resize this square. So let's come over to Select Object, and I like working in inches, and so you'll see I have that selected. And then the size of my square shows up right here, and we can resize that. Let's see, I want my rectangle to be 6 inches tall. There we go, 6 inches tall and 8 inches wide. So there we go. And I want to go ahead and center that in the hoop. And so right here, center design in the hoop. Now we can go back to Create Design and begin adding our text. So right now, if you look in the Objects menu, we just have this red box and it's calling that Design. We're not going to mess with this at this point, but this shows you a finished label size. And so we can size our font and size all of the words and our design true to size, being 8 inches wide and 6 inches tall. So now that we have that visual in place, let's go ahead and add our text. So we'll come right up here to Create Letters. And then over in the Properties box, we are going to type our text that we want to add to our label. So give me 1 second. So there is our text. One day you will wake up and you will not have anyone to take to practice. Aww. I know what that feels like. Enjoy the time you have. So I know that I want to justify that all in the center. So right here, we can do some justifications and put that right. Everything's justified to the center. So the default is set to block, the block font. However, we can go in and change that to any font that you have saved into your software. And let's see what this looks like. That's kind of cute. There was one that I liked a lot, and where was that? Let me find it. If only. There we go. I love that because it's very easy to read, and it's simple, and it's almost like handwriting. So I love this font. I purchased this on Etsy. So let's take a look at how that looks. And I think we need to add some spacing between our words to sort of make it a little bit easier to read. So let's click back on our letters. And then you'll notice once you have them selected, you can, you can slant them. You can increase the space between all of the individual letters. You can also increase the space between all of the words. This red box is really thin, but you can see that a little bit. These are the edges of our quilt label, and so that gives us a good reference on how big we can make our design without getting extremely too close to the edges of our label. And I think that looks so much better spreading out the words just like this. So let's select back onto our words. Let's go back up here and center that in the hoop. Just make sure that that is exactly in the center of our label. So what we have up here in the objects box is we have our red box that is just a design at this point, just a reference, and then we have our letters. Let's reselect back on those. You can change the color of the thread if you like. We'll just keep that blue for now. So now let's bring this back out a little bit. Now we want to add some hearts as just part of a design of the label. What I want to do is we will select on the letters and we're going to move them up just a little bit, trying to keep them in the center of that square. And that gives us some room right down here to add a little bit of a design. And I would like to add some hearts because that's sort of a theme on her quilt. So let's go back up to Merge Design and let's see what they have for heart shapes. You'll see all of these different shapes pop up. And let's see. I really like this one. Heart number 2, we'll add that. And let's move this down here. And let's zoom in just a little bit. Whoops. This program moves around a little bit different than what I'm used to. So here's our heart, and you'll see it's categorized that under design, and right now it's just a line. What we need to do is first let's resize that. Just like that. You'll see the red lines, that's the edges of our label. Once we've resized it, we can go to Create and click on the Run Stitch. And just like that, we've changed the shape into a running stitch. Now there's all different kinds of running stitches that you can choose from over here in the Properties menu. I really like the bean stitch. I'm a huge fan of the bean stitch. And 2.2, millimeters. That seems pretty good. I will add a tie it entry and tie it exit just to make sure everything locks in place. So there we go. There is our first heart. Now what I'd like to do is put them all along the bottom. So I'm going to select my heart and right click and I will hit copy. Then right click again and hit paste. And what it's done, if you look right over here, is it's created a second heart. Let's put it right on top of the first one so we can just move that over. And let's make this one a little bit smaller, just to add a little bit of randomness to it. So now that we have these two different sized hearts, let's click on both of them. Select them both by hitting Control and both of the hearts. We'll right click and hit copy and right click again and hit paste. Then right here in the center is that little green box. We can just move the second set over. I'm going to right click again and hit paste. It's going to put another set of hearts right here and we're going to move those over as well. So now we can just play with the spacing between our hearts. Move that one over a little bit. The round circle up here lets you turn and rotate your design. Now I'm just going to play with the rotating and making them appear a little bit random. Let's see, let's do that one like that. And we will turn that one like this. And let's scoot over just a little bit so we can see all of this. Turn this one, whoops, that way. And will he fit? Let's see. We're gonna have to space them all out again. Like this. We might have to make some of these a little bit smaller. Let's do that. There we go. We'll make it really random. And moving over. Let's see, I want to change this one like that. And we'll scoot him over just a little bit. So let's take a look at that. It's a little bit different than our first design, but I like this one too. Okay, so we have our words. Whoa. Goodness. There we go. We have our words and we have our hearts. And let's just take a look at this up in the Objects menu. We still have our square that is just a design at this point. And we have our hearts. Let's go ahead and make sure that they are stitching in the right order. So right here, we are going to sequence objects by selecting one at a time. I think that they are in the right order, but I just want to make sure that they are stitching from left to right. So we will click on that one, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So very good. Those will stitch from left to right. Let's also take a look while we are on this part of the design at the start and stops, and you'll see right here this green bow and the red bow. The green is where it will start and the red is where it will stop. Each one, they're starting and stopping at the very bottom point, and so this red little dash line, those will be your jump stitches. And actually I think that's perfect. I'm not going to move that whatsoever. So now for the last part of our design, what I want to do with this red square box is I want the machine to first stitch out our letters. So let's move our letters as the very first thing that the machine will do when we start our embroidery. If you select the letters over here in the objects box and you right click, you will have some options here that pop up. I want to move this to the very first thing that the machine will do. And we have blue selected, so it will stitch all of these letters and then the machine will stop. The very next thing I want the machine to do is to stitch our hearts from left to right, just like that. All of those are this orange color, and that's fine. I will use a red in the machine. So once it's done stitching the hearts, I want the machine to stop again. And then at this point, I'm going to add the backing fabric for my label right over top of everything in the hoop. And I want it to stitch this box. So let's select this square. And let's turn that into a running stitch. So right up here, we're going to hit run. Now automatically it's going to select the last running stitch that you chose, which we used a bean stitch. Let's just change that into a single stitch. And 2.2 millimeters, that seems like it would work fine. And let's make sure it ties at the entry and ties at the exit. So now what's going to happen? Nope, before that, let's go back up and select this again. Let's change the color because we want the machine to stop. And if it's the same color as the heart, it will move from where it stops at this last heart automatically up here and start stitching. We don't want that to happen yet. So let's change this to any random color. And now the machine will stop. We also want to change this from stitching first to the very last thing that it does. So just like that, we have our words, we have some random hearts at the bottom of our label, and then the machine is going to stop and we can lay down our backing fabric for the label, and then the machine will start up again and stitch a perfect box around your label and stop. You'll remove this from the hoop and cut away all your stabilizers and things like that. And then you can cut your label around the perimeter and then cut your backing fabric right in the center, a small little slit, and flip this all right side out and sew that to your quilt. I think that's fantastic. We're not sewing anything with the sewing machine whatsoever. So just for fun, because this part is always entertaining to me, let's go ahead and take a look at how this is going to look when we stitch this out and then the order that everything goes. And I usually like to do this just as a check before I save my work and move everything over to the embroidery machine. So it'll go through, stitch all of our text. Then the machine will stop. You can change the color of your thread if you like, and then it's going to do the bean stitch for the heart design. It'll start over on the left and work to the right side of the label. and then the machine will stop. You'll add your backing fabric, return it to the machine, and it'll stitch this box you see here. And your label is completely done. So, what do you think? I'm going to switch you back over. Switching you back over. Okay. I'm getting the hang of manipulating all the screens together. But what do you think? Is this the first time you've ever seen this and maybe something new for you to try? Or have you done this and make your labels this way? Maybe you have some tips that you would like to share with all of us down in the comments section. Now, I've only been digitizing for maybe 2 years, and certainly I have a lot to learn. So if you have some tips, I would love to hear them, and you can write them down below. If you like to make your own quilt labels, we would love to see them over on the Creative Crew group. The link will be in the description box below. I hope you join us and share pictures of your work. And I'm off to go stitch out my label. Now, if you want to see what this quilt label looks like, all stitched out, I will be making a video, and it'll be, let's see, video number 7 of the collage style t-shirt vlog for September. And I'll be making the label and quilting this tomorrow. So I hope to see you all really soon. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody.